Hi, so today we're talking to Viv and Brenda from Raw Sisterhood. They're here to talk to us about gut health and the importance of including fermented vegetables in our diet, especially if we are on a plant-based diet and we want to live healthy and cruelty-free. So hi guys.
Hello.
So I know you guys taught me a couple of years ago about fermented veggies. Before that I knew about them, but I hadn't included them in my diet to the extent I do now. And I've really noticed a difference in my gut health, which is really important for me because I want to feel as vital as possible in life, especially as a mother, trying to do work, running around in a city.
I start by doing some cabbage together, and Brenda can talk us a little bit through the benefits while I'm doing that. So watch me and listen to her.
Okay, well let's maybe rewind just for a second before we go into the benefits. I guess part of the benefits is helping with digestion. So when we talk about health, what does that mean? You know, really we want to put good things into our body, like say, for example, a vehicle. You have to put certain things in it, otherwise it doesn't function. You can't put water in it. Yes, maybe you can some places, but typically if you put water in the engine, it's not going to function. So in that same way, we as a species, we need to have certain vitamins and nutrients, certain food that we need to assimilate into our body. So throughout history, especially nowadays, throughout history, people ate what was available. Nowadays, lots of people eat what's convenient, which in the early 1900s, there was this big movement to feed lots of people. And so in this process, they started preserving, canning things and taking all the enzymes out of things so that there was a shelf life. So more people had access to food. However, in that process, the food lost all of its vital nutrients. So moving forward to today, we have so much food available to us, and much of it doesn't have any of the enzymes that we need to break it down. So first part of, actually let's just pause here and then move back over. So we've mixed up the cabbage. We've mixed up cabbage and two kinds of cabbage.
Yeah, because cabbage is also, it's not really a summer vegetable, but what it does, it stays nice and crunchy, and obviously it has very high vitamin C content, which you even enhance when you ferment it. You know, we all know, like a lot of people have to cook their cabbage to digest it properly, but if you ferment it, it's actually, you keep everything and you even enhance it. So apart from it tastes super good. But we sought for a little summer twist, nice fennel. Also use the tops, which is super nice in there. And then the only thing what I did so far is I salt it, because we do it as wild fermentation, which basically means you don't need any starters, you don't need any brine or vinegars. You only use salt and you massage it basically in, so it gets nice and sweaty and juicy. And that's basically it. I thought a little bit fennel seeds will be nice with it. It's also obviously very good for digestion on top. And maybe for a little bit nice summer flavor, we can incorporate a little bit of lemon. You know, only slice it and we only pack it in. And then I will show you, you basically pack all that in your jar, whatever size you have. It doesn't have to be any special fermenter crocks, or if you have them, use them. But any recycled jar will do. Sterilize it or have it in your hot dishwasher, and that's it. Basically.
So what's happening when we're fermenting is the food is essentially breaking it down. So with the wild ferment, we're mixing it and then it gets nice and juicy. We pack it into the jars and pack it in really, really tightly till it's covered. And it creates an anaerobic environment. So it's away from oxygen, so no oxygen gets into it. And what happens is all of the vegetables have bacteria in them, natural bacteria, either probiotics. And so what happens is in the anaerobic environment, everything starts breaking down. So the bacteria starts to eat the sugars and turns them into lactic acid. And so the lactic acid bacteria is what's considered one type of probiotics. So you're digesting the food, the fibers are being broken down, the sugars are being transformed, the carbohydrates into simple sugars. In the process, the vitamin C content, especially in the cabbage, is increased, as is some of the other mineral content. So kind of traveling back to why are they good for us? So basically we have this world right now that's really wrought with digestive problems. So many people have intolerances, IBS, all of these things. And so the function of the gut is now really, really hot. It's this new science that people are finding that there's so much to it. So eating fermented foods helps with digestion. It supports digestion. It's prebiotic and probiotic. So you eat it and it helps to break down the nutrients that you're eating. So sometimes we eat fast. We may not chew our food properly. So the food can pass from the stomach into the small intestines. In the stomach, it's supposed to be digested. So by the time the food passes we start with chewing, and then we chew, we swallow into the stomach. From the stomach, it's meant to be in chyme, liquid form. So the stomach produces all this hydrochloric acid to break everything down. And then the food passes into the small intestines. So once in the small intestine's function is to assimilate the nutrients and also produce precursor enzymes and vitamins, so your B12s, your K2. And now they're finding also vitamin C, which is really exciting because the body wasn't thought to be able to produce vitamin C anymore. So if you eat too quickly or you eat food that you can't break down, instead of it digesting, it moves into the small intestine, it starts to rot and you start to create more toxins, and that begins to slowly erode and kill the single layer which is in the small intestine. So then you have holes, which is what is leaky gut. And so then you've got all of these beautiful foods that maybe you thought that you ate, but you didn't chew faster, you chew too fast, you didn't digest properly. It's now leaking out into your bloodstream. And your body goes, oh my God, what's that? That beautiful salad is now considered a pathogen in your body. So anyways, let's just pop back here for a second.
So that's all what I did. I packed it very tightly. If you have a little bit bigger jar where you can go in with your whole fist, you punch it basically in, or you have like a little mortar if you want to, but it's, it can be you don't need much equipment or anything. So I packed everything in, and what I use now is like an outer leaf of the cabbage to really pack it very tightly on top, because as Brenna said, we want to have no oxygen in. So I try to squeeze that in here.
So in the process of breaking down, there's so many, in each serving of fermented veggies, you can have up to a billion plus probiotic bacteria that you can have in each serving of your fermented veggies, which is really, really awesome. So basically what the probiotic does is it goes into your gut and it helps to break down the food, but it also helps to rebuild the intestinal lining and rebuild all of the bacteria that are necessary for all of these functions relating to immune health. So we just kind of got into that. So supporting the immune system, but also mental health. So there's all of the studies that are showing depression can be linked to poor gut health.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just a plethora of things that are being found to have a direct connection to the intestinal health.
Well, it seems like they're linked. Well, I know they are linked from studies, but it's often when you feel stressed or depressed. I know for myself, and I know a lot of clients that I've talked to, they will get stomach issues. And the same goes the opposite way, that if we're not nourishing ourselves and we do have digestive problems, we're eating foods that aren't breaking down, or we're eating too quickly, as you say, then, as you're saying, it can have the opposite effect, the same effect in the opposite way, that you can feel depressed or more stressed, you can have panic attacks, anxiety. It's really, really linked, which is why I really wanted to talk to you about this.
It's about de-stressing your digestive system.
Yeah.
And everything you can do for it, helping that. And fermented veggies or fermented foods in general is obviously de-stressing your whole digestive tract. Which has then the other effect that it's good for your nervous system, that it's good for your, you don't have brain fog, or so you're basically, it's about, definitely about de-stressing. And we always think like de-stressing is only when we do yoga or meditation, but our whole on the organ level, and obviously we also have an energetic level, but on the organ level you also want to help your body to be in a de-stressed state, if you want to.
So it's alkaline forming as well, which is then that, think of alkaline as a cooling energy versus a heating energy. Hot, you think of like caffeine and stimulants and things like like sugar and meat and all of those things are very hot. They produce a lot of acid, and so when the body is alkaline, we stay in a state of health. You know, that's one of the biggest keys, is to try to maintain and consume as much alkaline foods, which is all basically your plant-based foods are all very alkaline.
When I'm talking to people who are eating a plant-based diet, I do bring back to the point that they could be eating great plant-based foods, they could be organic, but it really depends on how, you know, if you're present when you're eating it, if your stomach is working, if your digestive system's working, if you're going to get the benefit of these things. And that's where fermented veggies can come in and are very important if you are on a plant-based diet, or any diet, but particularly in a plant-based diet. It is a very important aspect to include.
It's a support, you know, like we all need support. And so it's a support. So if someone is stressed and they're not really able to take that step and find the way to de-stress themselves just by eating the right foods, you can get that support, and that's what I like to think about them as our little support. They help us to break down the food, so they're the prebiotic but the probiotic as well, so they feed all the little helpful bacteria. It's a quick support, and they're awesome because they're convenient food. You can eat them as a snack, you can kind of eat them anytime.
I put them on everything. I love them on my toast, I have them on the side of my salads. You guys introduced me to the concept of putting them in leaves, so big cabbage leaves, and using them as a filling in a wrap with some vegetables and salsa. I just, that's been an absolute winner for me and my family.
You know, we can allow the body to say, I feel like I need this, and then how can I ferment it? And it's super creative. So that's another important part of being healthy, is that we have this need to be creative and have fun. And so you can make, anytime in the kitchen, you can come up with these awesome culinary creations, but you experiment and you have fun, and sometimes you make things and you go, ooh, that tasted really weird. I didn't really like that. But then other times
make lots of those.
So it's really fun to be able to play, you know, to have that expression of creativity, and that's also really empowering, because we need to know how to take care of ourselves and our families.
Yes, that's right.
Also to see, you know, the process. We talked about the other day, you know, sometimes you get like really, like, oh, I really need it now. But with fermented veggies, for example, it has a little bit like, it really shows you how nature works. It works in cycles, for example, you know. You have to wait now for at least 4 weeks to really taste it, you know.
Right, so is that how long? So you make it up, you put it in a jar. I put a plastic bag around it, or because it ends up smelling.
So the juices will go up now. They will rise, and that's basically how they produce their own brine, kind of. So it will be all submerged. It will run over. It will go out. So that's why you put a plastic bag ideally on now, and maybe have a plate underneath. Don't open it, you know, and the smell is normal. The juices running out is normal. That will stop probably after. Depends also outside temperatures, but let's say a week maybe. So you change all that, and then afterward what happens, so that's the initial 3 weeks, I would say, that's really the fermentation process, and then afterwards there's a curing process happening, which makes it the flavors much more mellow, and, you know, brings everything nicely together.
And that's also what preserves it, so that's really important. So people go, well, you know, what's the difference between that and going off? How do I know if it's going off? How do I know if it's not?
That's a big thing.
It's a super big thing, and it's really scary because we've been so conditioned that if we don't keep food in this certain way in the fridge and sealed and contained, we're going to get sick and we could die. Fair enough, you know. So what happens is, in the process of the pH dropping, it drops down to like 3.5, and in that process, any sort of bacteria, the viruses, pathogens, they can't survive, so they get killed off. So say we know that you can have E. coli on your organic carrots, you know, we know that we can have things, salmonella can be in your produce. So in that way, in that process, all of the sort of nasty things get killed off because they can't survive in that environment. And so then in that same environment, it's just the food's just breaking itself down. It's like nature.
And having a fermented veggies, you know, added to your side of whatever food you're eating, for me, I find it's not only tasty, it also means I know that I'm like giving myself a little bit of difference of what I'm eating over here. So, you know, so it's a bit over here, a bit over there, a bit over there. It just makes it easier for ourselves. And you can make batches of 10 jars. You can do a big cook up, you know.
Absolutely.
And it can last you a long time.
You're stocked up, and, you know, you also, you know, with a lot of foods, for example, if I look at this fennel, a lot of people I know, they chop off that So, and they chuck all the greens in the garbage. Yeah? But if you see all these, or like the outer leaves of a cabbage, I mean, you can all use that. It's also very sustainable, you know, in a lot of ways. I mean, I wish we would be all in a situation we have all these massive gardens and plant everything like this ourselves.
Yeah, and actually grow.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, so
I'm not very good with garden. I try.
But that's
we will
another
try
subject.
again.
So in saying that, it's also coming back in contact with, you know, like with nature in a way like that you know what you produce with your own hands, you know, nourish you and your family.
Conscious eating.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.